The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius penned these words in the quiet solitude of his campaign tent, he wasn't merely crafting a poetic phrase, he was forging a key to unlocking a form of intelligence that transcends mere knowledge, a resilience of mind that can withstand the fiercest storms of existence. This is not the intelligence of trivia nights or standardized tests, but the profound, unshakable wisdom of a mind sculpted by intention, discipline, and a deep understanding of reality. In a world saturated with fleeting information and clamoring for our attention, the ancient Stoics offer a timeless blueprint for building an intellect that is not just sharp, but unbreakable. This is a journey not into the acquisition of facts, but into the very architecture of your own mind. Imagine intelligence not as a vessel to be filled, but as a fire to be kindled. Modern life often encourages us to be collectors, amassing data, opinions, and headlines until our minds are cluttered warehouses of borrowed ideas. The Stoic path, however, is that of the blacksmith. It is a path of heat, pressure, and deliberate strikes, a process that burns away the impurities of rash judgment and fearful impulse, leaving behind the tempered steel of genuine understanding. This process begins with the most fundamental and often the most frightening force of nature: change. We are born into a river of constant flux. Seasons turn, empires rise and fall, relationships evolve, and our very cells are in a perpetual state of renewal. Our modern instinct, honed by a desire for stability, is to build dams against this current, to cling to the familiar banks and curse the water's relentless flow. We fear the unknown destination and mourn the landscape we leave behind. But the Stoic sees this differently. To the Stoic, the river of change is not an enemy but the ultimate teacher. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. This is a radical reframing. Instead of seeing change as a thief that steals our comfort, the Stoic sees it as an opportunity, a divine mechanism for growth. Every unexpected detour, every professional setback, every altered plan is not a disruption to the lesson. It is the lesson. True intelligence in this light is not the ability to predict the river's course, but the strength and flexibility to navigate its twists and turns with grace and skill. This navigation inevitably leads us into the turbulent waters of discomfort. Growth is never born from ease. A muscle must be strained to become stronger, a seed must break through the dark earth to reach the sun, and the mind must grapple with challenges to expand its capacity. We live in a culture obsessed with the pursuit of comfort, a world of ergonomic chairs, curated playlists, and instant gratification. We are conditioned to see discomfort as a signal that something is wrong, a state to be avoided at all costs. The Stoics, however, saw it as a sign that something is right. They understood that voluntary discomfort, facing a difficult conversation, pushing through a challenging workout, tackling a complex subject, is the gymnasium of the soul. It is in these moments of friction that we discover our own strength and resilience. The obstacle, as the Stoics would say, is the way. By deliberately stepping into the arena of discomfort, we are not punishing ourselves. We are training ourselves. We are transforming the raw iron of our potential into the sharp, reliable blade of a capable mind, one that doesn't shatter when faced with the inevitable hardships of life. Yet, to truly embrace change and find value in discomfort requires a profound shift in perspective. This is where the quiet power of gratitude becomes a cornerstone of Stoic intelligence. Gratitude, in the Stoic sense, is not a fleeting emotion reserved for holidays or grand gestures. It is a deliberate daily practice of perception. It is the conscious act of focusing on the immense privilege of existence itself. When you arise in the morning, Aurelius wrote, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. This practice is a powerful antidote to the anxieties that plague the modern mind. Instead of lamenting what we lack or what has been lost to change, gratitude grounds us in the abundance of the present. It transforms our inner dialogue from one of scarcity to one of richness. This shift does more than simply improve our mood. It fundamentally alters how we process information. A mind steeped in gratitude is more open, more observant, and more attuned to the lessons embedded in every moment. It sees a failed project not as a personal defeat, but as a valuable lesson in what not to do. It sees a difficult interaction not as an affront, but as a chance to practice patience and understanding. Gratitude is the lens that reveals the wisdom hidden within the mundane, turning every experience into a potential source of intellectual and spiritual nourishment. To cultivate this elevated state of awareness, the Stoics understood the necessity of creating mental space. Our world is a relentless assault on the senses, a cacophony of notifications, advertisements, and endless streams of content. In this constant state of external stimulation, there is little room for deep thought or genuine reflection. We become reactive, our minds bouncing from one distraction to the next, never truly settling. The Stoics recognized this danger thousands of years ago and prescribed two powerful remedies: silence and deliberate disengagement. Seeking silence is not merely about escaping noise. It is about creating a sanctuary for the mind. It is in the quiet moments, free from the external world's demands, that we can finally hear our own thoughts with clarity. This is where we process experiences, connect disparate ideas, and allow profound insights to surface. Silence is the fertile ground from which creativity and critical thinking spring. This practice doesn't require a remote monastery. It can be found in a morning walk without headphones, a few minutes of quiet contemplation before bed, or simply turning off the radio during a drive. These small pockets of silence are acts of rebellion against the tyranny of noise, and in them, our intelligence finds the room it needs to breathe and expand. Complementing this is the art of deliberate disengagement. While our culture champions constant connection and engagement, the Stoics knew the immense value of purposefully stepping back. Just as a painter must step away from the canvas to see the whole picture, we must occasionally disengage from our routines and habits to gain a fresh perspective. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he spoke of the power to retire into yourself. This inner retreat is not a physical location but a state of mind, a conscious decision to unplug from the ceaseless flow of information and responsibility. It allows our mental faculties to rest and rejuvenate, enabling us to return to our challenges with renewed vigor, clarity, and creativity. This disengagement sharpens our focus and allows us to distinguish between what is truly important and what is merely urgent, a critical skill for intelligent decision-making. Once this inner space is cultivated, it must be filled with focused awareness. This is the practice of mindful observation. It is the art of truly seeing the world, not just looking at it. Think of the difference between glancing at a tree and truly observing it. The intricate patterns of its bark, the way sunlight filters through its leaves, the subtle dance of its branches in the wind. In that focused attention, a simple tree becomes a universe of detail and wonder. The Stoics applied this principle to all of life. By observing mindfully, we move from being passive spectators to active participants in our own existence. We begin to notice the subtle nuances in a conversation, the underlying patterns in a problem, the unspoken emotions of those around us. This practice of deep observation is the primary method of gathering the raw data for wisdom. It fuels our intelligence not with abstract theories, but with the rich textured reality of the present moment. This internally honed intelligence must then be tested and refined in the crucible of the external world, particularly through our interactions with others. The Stoics placed immense value on the community and the lessons that could only be learned through human connection. This begins with the often underestimated skill of active listening. The philosopher Epictetus famously noted, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is more than a clever aphorism, it's a guide to intellectual growth. Active listening is not the passive act of waiting for your turn to speak. It is a full-bodied engagement, a commitment to being present, to understanding another's perspective without immediate judgment, to asking clarifying questions, and to showing genuine empathy. When we truly listen, We open ourselves up to a universe of experiences, knowledge, and viewpoints that exist outside our own. We absorb information, challenge our own assumptions, and build connections that enrich our understanding of human nature itself. In every conversation, from a chat with a stranger to a debate with a colleague, lies an opportunity to sharpen our intellect. To make these interactions truly fruitful, we must embrace a diversity of thought and experience. It is tempting to surround ourselves with those who think and act as we do, to remain within the comfortable confines of our echo chambers. But this is the path to intellectual stagnation. The Stoics understood that true intelligence thrives on exposure to different perspectives. Interacting with people from varied backgrounds, cultures, and walks of life challenges our preconceived notions, forces us to defend our own beliefs with reason, and exposes us to new ways of thinking and living. Every person we meet carries a unique piece of the puzzle of life. By engaging with a wide array of individuals, we collect more pieces, allowing us to form a more complete and nuanced picture of the world. This doesn't mean we must agree with everyone, but it means we must be willing to engage, to listen, and to learn. Underpinning all these practices is the final crucial technique: the cultivation of curiosity over judgment. In our age of instant opinions and social media verdicts, the impulse to judge is strong and swift. We categorize, label, and dismiss ideas and people before we have truly understood them. Judgment is a closed door. It shuts down inquiry and halts the learning process. Curiosity, on the other hand, is an open window. It invites in new light, fresh air, and unexpected vistas. As Epictetus wisely stated, it is impossible for a person to begin to learn what he thinks he already knows. This intellectual humility is the bedrock of lifelong growth. By choosing to ask why instead of declaring that's wrong, we transform every encounter into a learning opportunity. We approach the world not as a judge with a gavel, but as an explorer with a compass, always ready to discover new territory. This commitment to curiosity is the engine of lifelong learning. The end of formal schooling is not the graduation of the mind, but its matriculation into the grand university of life. The Stoic path is one of perpetual studentship, recognizing that every day, every interaction, every challenge holds a lesson. This is not about the relentless pursuit of more information, but the continuous refinement of our understanding and character. It is about weaving the threads of change, discomfort, gratitude, silence, observation, listening, and curiosity into the rich tapestry of our lives. The journey to a Stoic intellect is not a destination to be reached, but a discipline to be practiced, a craft to be honed day by day. It is the conscious decision to engage with life not as a passive victim of circumstance, but as an active sculptor of your own soul. By embracing these timeless principles, we do more than just become smarter. We become wiser, more resilient, and more deeply connected to the world and to ourselves. We begin to understand the profound truth in Marcus Aurelius's words, and we take up the noble task of dyeing our souls with the vibrant colors of clarity, courage, and profound unbreakable intelligence. Your mind is a citadel. It can be your greatest fortress or your most vulnerable prison. Here at Stoic Motivation, we provide the blueprints and the tools to build an impenetrable inner fortress, grounded in timeless wisdom and unshakable resolve. To join the architects of the unbreakable mind, subscribe now. If this message fortified your spirit today, like this video. Share the principle that you will use to strengthen your own citadel in the comments below. And hit the bell to ensure its walls are always reinforced with wisdom. Build well. Live deliberately.